Is your entire human life just an education simulation? Is the exact way that your life has panned out and continues to go just a structure for you to grow, to evolve, to awaken, to expand? Or is it just random chaos? Or is it just meaningless? Are you just a tiny little part of this near infinite universe? Or is this universe generated perfectly for you? If we can develop an open heart and the eyes to see patterns in the universe around us, to see reflections in the universe around us, we may just find a teaching in even the most mundane moments and see that every day of your physical life can be one that expands you, that educates you, and maybe the times when it feels like nothing is on our side are the times when we are shown that the absence of love can teach us to expand into it unconditionally. We've all been privy to ideas about these types of things passed around for a long, long time, right? Even in Western culture, we hear a lot about, oh, are we living in a simulation? Is escaping the matrix, right? Realizing you're in a simulation. Oh, but even distilling that idea into something that you could approach more casually, like the idea that everything happens for a reason, right? How that ties into this idea. Or in the East, when you have saints talking about how the way to love and the way to opening into oneness with everything is through suffering, and what that suffering teaches us, and how that suffering turns us towards expanding into being more loving, more connected to our lives and connected to other people and connected to ourselves. And so it all begs the question, what is this life really about? Right? And obviously, that's not a question you can just answer generally for everybody, right? Everybody's got a different answer to that because everybody's got a different lens. But I think because everyone has a different lens, it's kind of the ultimate point of this idea to me is that everyone has a different path to walk in this life. Everyone has a different lens through which they see reality. In other words, you could say that everyone really does experience a completely different reality from everyone else because we all have different aspects that we see it through, different perspectives, different experiences, different packages that we see it through. I want to talk today about the idea that life, your life, has a curriculum. My life has a curriculum. All of our lives have a curriculum, and it's not necessarily all the same curriculum, but yet there is this idea of there is a pattern, a journey, a point, a teaching, a meaning to the fact that you exist exactly in the way that you do, and the things that happen in your life circumstantially, the people you meet, the people you talk to, the opportunities you get, the things you make mistakes with, the things you fail, the things you succeed, all of those things are part of that unfolding, part of that curriculum, ultimately for the point of your growth, your expansion, and when I say growth and expansion, I think the idea as above, so below comes into play here, right? The idea that anything on the scale that's beyond human, like talking about God or spirituality or something like that, all of those things apply even to the most human physical things as well. And so you can frame it in a way that's like, okay, you're expanding into more awareness of the fact that it's all love, or the fabric of the universe is love and everything's interconnected. And you can look at it from the most human standpoint of just learning, evolving, growing, and becoming a better person, right? But it is really the same idea when you boil it down. You don't need to be spiritual. You don't need to be not spiritual. It doesn't matter. They're just models of the same idea. But this idea that your life does have a curriculum and your life is an education simulation, it is generated very specifically for you to learn the things that you need to learn, almost like it's laid out like a map, like a journey that you walk through, and you go through a set of experiences that have been ordained by a non-physical aspect of you. I'm getting kind of far out here, but a non-physical aspect of you. And what is that? What is a non-physical aspect of you? What do I mean by that? I mean the part of you, the part of your conscious awareness, the part of you that sits behind the experience of this body, this mind, these thoughts. Because when you think thoughts, because if, for instance, if you meditated long enough, eventually you'd reach a space behind the thinking mind where you can see thoughts as phenomena. You can see your thoughts as clouds floating by, as cars driving by, and you see that every thought is generating an idea of who you are and what everything else is in relation to who you are. But if everything is just thoughts and you are not your thoughts, then what remains is a conscious awareness that doesn't have a quality to it other than just being present, aware, loving, connected. And the idea of a non-physical aspect of yourself, I mean that part, that conscious awareness that exists beyond the body, beyond the thoughts, right? And there's many ways that one could wake up to that, right? Psychedelics is one. Meditation, spiritual practice, could be literally anything. There's a nice quote in the East that's not a leaf turns without God behind it, right? That non-physical aspect of you, a higher self or something, a soul, one could also call God. And so the idea is there is something outside of your current lens of I'm this person doing these things, living this life. And we experience this life one moment after the other. We don't have a good structure as to why certain things are happening as they happen. But there is a space in us that we can access through many different means, through silence, through spiritual practice, through so many things, through intuition, where we can learn to listen to why the things in our life are happening, why certain things happen to us, right? Like thinking of the worst things that have ever happened to you. Like I can look at my life and think of the times that, you know, I was super lost and I didn't know what to do about something, and I just kind of, went with something that felt like it intuitively was the way I needed to go, but it felt wrong. But it just felt like, I don't know, I just need to do this. And years later, it just comes to be the best decision I ever made, right? Or it just it feels like in a moment where there's infinite options, there's just one thing that just is tugging at you a little. Some part of your system is tugging to one thing. And even if it's uncomfortable, even if you don't like it, you feel this thing of I need to go do this. I need to choose this. I need to stop doing this, right? And it's like the ways that that non-physical aspect of our consciousness is talking to us all the time. And the more I've experienced that connection with some non-physical voice, right? Apparently the Quakers called it the still small voice within, that I heard through Ram Dass. But it's like that voice that's kind of guiding you, right? It's something that's guiding you. And the more I've learned to listen to that voice, to tune into that voice, the more I've found that the life around me and the life around so many people I know, and it helps me talk to people about this, is that it just appears to be patterned. Let's say you've sabotaged a lot of your relationships because you feel not good enough or something. And so when it gets a little too deep, you run, right? There's a reason that when that lens doesn't change, when no lesson is learned, when a teaching is not absorbed through the circumstance of you doing that, suffering and causing suffering, and disconnecting yourself, there's a reason that the same situation comes back around with a different form. Now there's a new person, and it's you play out the same scene, and then you do the same thing. And now there's a new person, and somehow you're playing out the same scene, but this time you're in a different country, or this time you're in a different state, or how is this person exactly the same as the last person? It's just an example of a teaching will come back again and again and again and again in different forms, because your journey here is about going through the experience, taking in the teaching, allowing it to burn up something in you so that you can grow, expand, become more loving, become more connected, and in turn, that channel to that non-physical aspect that I described earlier opens up even more, and then you see more of it, and then you see more of the pattern, and then you can listen better. And I think the more that you do that, the more that each little moment of your life, no matter what the circumstance is, it could be something that makes you feel so uncomfortable. It could be something that you don't want. It could be the opposite of what you want. It could be something amazing. No matter what it is, even the smallest things, on a random Tuesday at 2:45, you meet someone in the parking lot of a grocery store. You say hi to another person at a grocery store. Even the smallest little things, the smallest, weirdest little interactions can hold deep teachings. I find all the time that even little circumstances that happen over the course of 2 days, like you have a friend who has a friend visit, and then whatever circumstance unfolds for 2 days, you can get something from that. It can change, you can alter the way you're looking at your life, the way that you're working through the lessons you need to work through. And it's about opening up to the idea that your life is built to do that. Your life is happening exactly the way it's happening to teach you something. And the more you're open to that, the more you're willing to listen to it, the more it'll show you that that's seems to be the case. And it's so many, you know, thought leaders and spiritual leaders and saints and uh, monks and so many voices have kind of echoed this idea throughout time. There's a Ram Dass story, and this is a little far out, but we're already getting far out. That's what this channel's about. Um, there's a Ram Dass story where he's recommended to go to this channeler in New York. And if I butcher the story, I butcher the story, but he goes to this channeler in New York, and it's this like kind of New Jersey-esque woman, just spray tan and long acrylic nails and such. Long story short, he ends up in this lady's basement or something, and she starts channeling this I guess he calls it a disembodied consciousness or a non-physical awareness or something, named Emmanuel, apparently. And regardless of what you believe, it's not really the point of it, but the point is the message that came through this channel was Ram Dass is asking all these questions like, why this? Why does this happen? What's death like? All these things. And this consciousness just says, you're in a school, so why don't you just take the curriculum? And I always thought about that as so interesting. And the more I've lived under that idea, the more potent it's become. And sometimes our greatest moments of teaching are the times where we suffer the most and we're the most uncomfortable, because sometimes feeling the absence of love is the only way we expand in a way where we learn that we can embody something like love without condition. Because if you had all the conditions perfect, it would be easy. And you'd be able to hold on to all your crutches that allow you to be loving, allow you to be connected and embody the best that you can. But it's the times that we can't do that. It's the times that it's hard and we can't rely on certain things. We can't rely on somebody validating us all the time. It's those times where nobody's validating us that we grow and we learn to love ourselves or to forgive or to be loving, because that's without condition. And that's an expansion. And I'm not sitting here as a human talking to you saying that I know all the super systems as to, what everyone's life is about. But I can tell you something that I feel pretty certain about. And that's that everything in your life is specific, and it's specifically for you. And when we ignore that still small voice within, we lose the plot as to what our life is about. We lose our connection to it. And even when we're disconnected, we can still be connected to, what am I being taught? What is this about? And even if you don't have an immediate answer, you will feel the answer in time. And that's where trust and faith comes in. I do think of this life as an education simulation. It is a life that is generated for you to grow into an embodiment of unconditional love, the fabric of everything, the fabric of interconnectedness. They say when you die, all that you take with you is love. So many people have had NDEs, near-death experiences, have said so. I've experienced that quite a bit on substances and not on substances. That every time I've gone to a place beyond myself and had an out-of-body experience, the only thing I took with me was love. And it's like everything else just falls away. And so, be human. Use this time. Use this life for the good of yourself, for the good of all, and allow yourself to be a student of life. And only good things can come, whether they come in hard packages or ugly packages. In the end, they will always lead to deeper love if you're willing to listen. And a topic that pairs very well with this one is that every part of you serves a purpose and can teach you something and should be listened to. And if you're interested in that, you can click on this video because I made a video about that, and it goes hand in hand with this idea. If you feel resonant and passionate about it, and learn how to listen to those parts of yourself.